Tennessee's abortion trigger law is now in effect. This means the procedure is banned with the exception of in the case where the mother's life is in danger. This morning, we are joined live by Nashville Attorney David Raybin to talk more about the ramifications of this law taking effect today. Good morning to you. What would be the immediate impacts that we'll see here?
I think this particular law has no exceptions in it. Given the ambiguity of some of the language, I think the practical matter bans abortions in Tennessee. Elective abortions I think are certainly going to be prohibited, effective immediately because of this trigger ban.
Attorney, do you know about any impacts this could possibly have on things like in vitro fertilization that I know a lot of people have been concerned about, which is not your traditional type of situation when people think of abortion, but certainly we know that comes into play at times when that particular procedure is done. What have you heard about this law's impact on those types of procedures?
Well, I think that this particular, it's the Supreme Court of the United States decision which basically overturned Roe versus Wade, which gave women the right to have an abortion under certain circumstances. That decision was overruled by the Supreme Court itself, thus throwing it back to the states. Tennessee elected to have a trigger ban, which said that you cannot have an abortion unless the doctor can prove to a jury that it was done medically necessary to save the life of the woman. If the doctor cannot prove that, then the doctor could go to prison for 3 to 6 years. Those sanctions are so high, the burden is so difficult for the physician that I cannot imagine a physician doing that in all but the most emergency situations. So as a practical matter, this deters physicians from performing elective abortions in Tennessee, either surgically or through medication. We have to remember that many abortions are performed through medicine, and not only surgically.
So, David, if I may, because I want to go back to something you said just a minute ago when we mentioned that the procedure banned with the exception of where the mother's life in danger. What you're trying to point at here is that it would be so burdensome for a doctor to be able to prove that the woman's life was in danger that factor in and of itself negates that exception rule. Is that what you're saying?
There is no exception. What it is, it's an affirmative defense that the doctor has to prove that. I mean, an exception is that you can't hunt deer unless you have a hunting license in season. That's what an exception is. That doesn't even apply in that kind of situation here. This is designed to deter doctors. The decision about whether a physician is going to perform an abortion or not has to be made today in a courtroom, not in a hospital room. And I think that that's designed to deter the physician from doing that. It's a subtle distinction, but it's significant enough where I have told physicians who called me, I said, that's the danger in this. Women have called me and I've cautioned, the most important thing here is to be safe, legally and medically.
All right.
And so that's the impact of this law.
TSU students were supposed to be back in class on Monday, but ultimately classes were pushed back 2 days to today, so the university would have some more time to figure out the housing situation. A lack of on-campus housing means living in a hotel for some TSU students. Of the 6 hotels the university is using, it's a 10-mile commute to La Quinta and a 12-mile commute to the Ramada Inn. Being assigned to a hotel each semester is the reality some students are facing.
I was in Best Western last fall. I was in House of God last spring, and then now I'm here at the Ramada.
Others share concerns of cleanliness.
This hotel is nasty. I'm not gonna fake it. This hotel is nasty.
And in past semesters, this student describes safety concerns.
Students, I know for sure, like I stayed in a hotel with them, they were finding needles in their room.
Taking these frustrations to university and state leaders, we asked Senator Brenda Gilmore, who represents the district TSU resides in, for an interview. And she declined. Representative Harold Love Jr. pushed us back to the university. The Board of Trustees pushed us back to the university. And after reaching out to the university to speak with TSU's president, no response. TSU did send us a statement explaining they are working with hotel management to address all off-campus housing concerns. Here's a clip from the last interview TSU granted Fox 17.
Well, we're not having a housing problem. This is the point that we want to make sure we're clear about. Again, we don't accept our students based up to our housing capacity. We accept our students based on our academic capacity.
Even so, students say they expected more from their school, transparency about space on campus, and enough time to plan.
Well, MNPS says that the district is investigating these claims and they will update us once the investigation is complete. But parents that we spoke with today say they're more concerned about the year of learning loss for their children.
Eric Dupre says his son's sixth grade teacher at Oliver Middle School last year was only in the classroom for about 2 days a week. He says the other days were covered by a substitute teacher.
I found ourselves having to kind of take up the extra slack that school wasn't taking care of at home and try and push him and get him on a time-sensitive schedule for homework or assignments.
Once Dupre noticed a discrepancy with a homework assignment, he addressed this with the teacher via email and also asked about her absence.
So I'm also concerned with how often that my son says he has a substitute. Are you still accountable for this class, or is there something going on I should be aware of?
He says the teacher was offended by the tone of his email. Dupre says he then asked the teacher and the assistant principal for a meeting, and he says neither of them responded. So we went to the district office to ask them about the investigation.
Their students have said that that teacher has only been there 2 days a week. I mean, what's your response to that? They lost a teacher for essentially half a school year.
Yeah, Caitlin, we don't know that to be true. As I told you, we have been investigating that claim. And once we get the completed investigation, we'll take the appropriate steps.
Fox 17 News obtained public records that show this teacher was on leave 1 day in February and March and several days in May. But parents say she was absent a lot more than this.